Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Arun Sharma, and in this video we are going to talk about what is sharing economy and why it is important today. You have been watching me making a lot of videos on sharing economies like scooter sharing, apartment sharing, car sharing, and a lot of other things as well. Like I'm involved in a lot of other things, and I'm currently working on to make more videos like how the sharing economies can actually help revive the world economy as well as help you make more business out of it. What is sharing economy? So sharing economy is an economic model, and it's a contract between one person and another person of sharing something. It could be a service, it could be a product, and it is mainly regulated by a middle community that is controlling everything in terms of that sharing goods or service. For example, Uber. So you ride Uber and you share the car for a limited period of time, and the headquarter or the main company, Uber company, is actually regulating everything with the help of its software solution or the platform, you could say that. So for example, if I want to become an Uber driver, I can enroll in the platform, in the software platform, and I can start driving Uber the other day once the registration is confirmed. It is acting as a community, as a global hub or central hub that is actually regulating the entire sharing ecosystem of cars. Now, why it is important right now? Why it is important to have sharing businesses right now with us? So sharing businesses hasn't just taken a boost with coronavirus. They were tremendously increasing. They were rapidly growing for the few years because of the slowdown the entire world economy was experiencing. So we know that the world economy was slowing down after 2015, 2016. The average GDP consumption was decreasing, and the IMF and other agencies and organizations could see it, and that is why we were seeing a lot more companies coming in the market and sharing their goods, services, and other platforms so that the sharing businesses increase because of the lower spending of the people. Now the coronavirus has given it an extreme boost to these sharing businesses, and the spinal cord of middle class is completely broken. Now they have less household income. The average household income has decreased, the PPP has increased, the people purchasing power, so they do not have that much money in their hand. The liquid is gone, so they cannot spend on unnecessary things. Only the essential things are being bought up by the middle class, and the purchasing power, the spendings, everything has been gone, and it is really difficult to own something at the moment. It is really difficult to spend something that you are going to utilize for 20% of the time. For example, a car, so you are not going to use it 100% of the time. It is just going to be utilized for 30 to 40% of the time, and for 60% of the time it is just going to be idle in your garage or in your office space, somewhere in the parking space. It is going to be reserved just for that. And that is why we are seeing this new trend coming in. People are much more interested in acquiring something for limited period of time rather than literally owning something for lifetime, because it is economically feasible, it is economically attractive for them. Because now you see the downturn because of slowdown, because of the coronavirus, because of the less spendings, because of the PPP has decreased, and you can also see because of all these downturns, people are less likely to spend on something that they are not going to use 100% of the time, and these things are not very essential. And let me just give you the global perspective. Now this is something that you see right here. The all the countries, the biggest countries in the world, and their GDP has shrunk, and you can see only few countries managed to stay in the single digits, and other countries have negative double digit GDP growth rate. Only one country has a positive growth rate, that is China. That is because of the good countermeasures and precautionary measures for COVID-19. That is why they managed to stay in positive, GDP positive, and the rest of the other countries have double digit contraction for their GDP figures. And it is very heartbreaking at the moment, and that is why we see this new trend coming in where the companies are coming up and they're sharing their goods and services. It is not just about cars, apartments, or other things that I've mentioned already. It is also going to about clothes, it is also going to about electricity, it is also going to about water, and a lot of other things as well. Now you see a lot more new companies coming up and sharing their goods and services, and the attractive thing is that it is actually economically feasible, it is economically attractive, and you are spending a lot more money when you are sharing something rather than owning something. So it is quite possible, and now you see, now you understand why it is important to actually share something rather than owning something. And before we move on to the next thing, let me just give you some interesting figures. Let me just give you some interesting news. So the automakers, the biggest automakers that you know right now, like Ford, Tesla, Suzuki, Maruti Suzuki in India, so they are coming up with the subscription based model, so where you do not have to buy the car. Ultimately you can rent it for limited period of time, and then you pay the subscription fee just like Netflix. So when you Netflix, you have to pay the subscription fee, monthly subscription fee to Netflix to watch their content. And at the same time, when you are going to use their vehicle or their car, so you are going to pay the monthly subscription fee to the company without actually paying 1 million or maybe more or whatever the price is, to own the entire car. So you can own the car for a limited period of time. And don't you think it is going to amazing? And these companies, the biggest companies, they have infrastructure, they have manufacturing unit, they have the all the facilities available. They are just coming up into these trends as well because of their understanding. The purchasing power has reduced, the consumer spending is reduced, and people are enjoying this new model. They are enjoying this new trend that is actually making them own something rather than buying something. And Airbnb, so you know how this company actually started in the first place. You might not be wondering it. So it is really difficult to imagine right now that how would you pay for a car from a company automaker that you used to buy a normal car. So you would pay it for like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever the subscription fee is or whatever the terms and conditions are. But that is how actually the Airbnb started, like in 2008 when the financial crisis was going on. This company actually take the growth to the next level. They actually introduced this business, so called you rent a part of your house. It was unimaginable before that, because why would someone want to rent a part of their house where a stranger would come in and walk out? That could be really dangerous, that could be really skeptical for the owners, because nobody wants to rent their part of their house and nobody wants a stranger to enter the house. So that was really difficult for Airbnb. But when the 2008 financial crisis actually reveling or distorting the entire world economy, this company has taken growth. This company has seen growth. And the idea was quite simple, and people didn't have that much money, so they were looking for alternative ways to actually make more money. And that's when they decided to rent the part of their house to actually make more money, so raise more money, and they would able to support their family. They were able to increase their household income by something, by literally renting the part of their house. So that was the idea, and the time was great for Airbnb, and the sharing house business model actually grew flawlessly. Now, 5 problems that sharing businesses can solve. So these are the 5 problems that I'm going to talk about that sharing businesses can solve. First one is the access to the public transport. Now you see the public transport could be really confusing and could be really expensive. And before the Uber actually started, people didn't have that many options available in the market. So they had to hire the entire cab or entire car for one day or a few hours, and that was really expensive. Now you simply have to book the car, and then you can go from point A to point B without actually paying a lot more money to the rental company. So that was really amazing, and exactly the same thing could be done here. Like when you're sharing, you are actually having a lot more access to the transport, as well as you are paying less money from your pocket. Second thing is high cost of rent and property. So you have already understood this. It is quite expensive to actually own a house, especially in big city. So sharing apartment is something that is not creating any dent to your pocket, so you can live in the most expensive city in the world without actually having to spend a lot more money from your pocket. Third thing is the better resource utilization. So this is something you are utilizing your resources. For example, let's take a fleet of 100 cars. So you are renting 100 cars with a classical rental way. I've explained this in the car sharing business. You can take a look at it. And this is the new model where you are using these software solutions, as well as this is car sharing, the real car sharing. So the resource utilization with the help of software as well as this new model is very high, extremely high. Your cars are not sitting idle in the city. They are actually being used with a lot more people because they have the access to the application. They can take a look at which car is available at the moment, and they can take a ride whenever they feel they want to go from point A to point B. This is something you are increasing the overall resource utilization of any business, of actually the fleets or the houses. If you're renting something for sharing an apartment, you are actually increasing the utilization of that apartment. That apartment is not going to get abandoned if someone is sharing it or someone is literally living in that apartment. Fourth thing is lower carbon emission. So this is something we all understand. When we are traveling from point A to point B, we if we are using our own vehicle, we are just one, and then we are taking it from point A to point B. Whereas when we are sharing something, we could be having like 2 or 3 people. And this new model, I'm sure you must be aware of this new model. That is something Uber Pool. So you are actually 2 people going from point A to point B without actually driving it alone. That would increase the emission rate within the city, because now you are utilizing the resources as well as less people are driving it. And similarly, I explained the same phenomenon where the car sharing is actually reducing the carbon emission by increasing resource utilization, as well as people wouldn't be taking their own cars. They would literally be driving these cars available in the city, and that would also decrease the traffic congestion and a lot of other problems at the same time. So it is very economical for people, for cities, for governments, authorities, and for the country as well as the fifth thing is access to renewable energy. So this is something, there is this new idea actually emerged in the US where they installed a renewable or the silicon based solar roof. So where the battery is charging and you can take the advantage of that battery charge. You can take the electricity generated from the solar roof and you can pay the rent that is a lot cheaper actually than the normal version, or that is the normal electricity that you get. And you can also share it with your neighbors, they can pay it too, and if something is remaining, that goes directly to the other areas where people can share. So that is how the entire system is working. So you are getting a lot more access to renewable resources because of that sharing business, and people are also interested, a lot more interested than they were before. Now you understand why it is really important at this point of time to actually use sharing services, to actually start your business with sharing services or sharing business on your own. So that is something really important. This is the necessity of our life and we have to get used to it. So we need to implement these business models in our life where we are using sharing stuff, sharing services, and other sorts of things where we are not spending a lot more money, and we are also utilizing all these facilities that would only be available when we are owning something. So that is actually look alike, you are owning something. So you are getting all the facilities, all the features, pretty much everything when you own something. So that is really amazing. So what are you waiting for? Now you have to think about your business model, how you can actually share that stuff, because sharing is something, rather than producing it, rather than mass producing it, manufacturing it, think about how you can share something. And recently I was reading few articles about how the companies are working on to share the expensive clothes for a limited period of time, like 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, whatever the conditions are, and then you can literally buy the most expensive shirt, t-shirt, whatever it is, and then you can look cool and fancy in that one party or function, whatever it is, and you can return it once you have used it. So that is something, the sharing business model is pretty much applicable everywhere. So you have to look for these areas, you have to look for these, you have to explore more this industry, this domain, and then you will definitely have something to do with your industry, with your business. And now look for new ways where you can actually share your stuff to your consumers, to your customers, rather than having them to buy the entire product. So that is all in this video. I hope you loved it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more cool stuff, because there will be a lot more things, a lot more business videos coming in. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, and keep learning.